one loss in that span, and that was to the Penguins about a week or so ago. They lost an overtime game to the Penguins. So the Penguins lose in overtime. They still get a point. But the Islanders get 2 points tonight on the island. The Pens are back home on Saturday against New Jersey. So I'm in my, this is the closest thing I have to a Mr. Rogers sweater. So I decided to wear it. A little, I would say this is kind of a cardigan, right? This is a cardigan type Mr. Rogers sweater. Zip up. So, you know, the movie premiere is tomorrow. I can't wait to go see it at some point. Maybe Monday I'll be able to go see it when I have a day off, but I'm looking forward to it. So, all right, let's take your phone calls tonight. Looking forward to hearing what you have to say. 412-575-2600 is the number. Let's go out to Jerry out in Hempfield. What's up, Jerry?
Hey, Rich. It's been a while since I talked
Jerry,
to you.
I know, man. I missed you, buddy.
What I want to say is, you know, over the past years, I would always tell you the Pirates are an average team of fat, and you was always optimistic every year. And at the end of the year, you know, you found out that I was right.
Okay.
Okay, now, since you kept saying, we got to change, they got to do something, you kept, like, begging for that, and they finally did. They got rid of the coach and this and that. And I'd like to ask you, when you get to meet the new manager and the general manager and that, can you ask him, are you going to be able to get better players, and are you going to be not limited at a certain amount of money to spend? In other words, is the Pirates going
So,
to
Jerry, I know Travis Williams, and I met Ben Cherington, had an interview with him on Monday when he was introduced, and these are one of the questions that I asked those guys, and they think that they can. They think they'll be able to spend more money.
Okay, that's what I was going to say. They're going to be able to increase their money a little bit to improve the team.
They won't give anyone an exact number, and that's what scares me. You know, they do say that, you know, money's really not an issue right now, but they wouldn't say, hey, we have a $70 million payroll. We're going to get to 100. Our goal is, that's what I would like to hear. They want to be transparent. I would like to hear them say, instead of saying payroll doesn't matter, I would like to hear them say, you know what, payroll does matter to a point, and we would like to be in the ballpark of $100 million because we think we can compete there. But they haven't said it yet.
Question is for you this. If they told these people without them telling you yet, and they know that, well, we're not going to give you $100 million. We're going to go from 70 maybe to 85. Why would these people take this job if they're not going to be able to spend a little bit more money to improve this team?
Well, you know, that's a good question, Jerry, and it's been asked, the assurances that these guys have had from Bob Nutting. They claim they want to work for this guy. Ben Cherington couldn't say it enough how much he wanted to work with Travis Williams and Bob Nutting. He couldn't say it enough. So I don't know if it's just because he wanted the job. Maybe it was the only opportunity to be a general manager out there, and he wanted to get back in the game after, you know, he was general manager of the Red Sox. Yes, he did win the World Series, but the other 3 years he was there, all losing seasons, last place in the AL East. So it wasn't great 3 out of the 4 years. It was great the 1 year. So, you know, I just hope that they can turn things around and get some excitement again. And I feel like maybe they're trending in that direction. You know, at least there'll be some talk at the beginning of the year. They got to add some pieces. Maybe Cherington will make some moves. You know, I think everything's on the table right now with this team. Maybe they move a guy like Starling Marte, or maybe they try to move a Josh Bell. At some point, those guys have to be moved if you want to live in the Pirates system. You know, one thing I'm encouraged by, I don't know if you read, Manfred talked earlier this week, and you know, there was a story out there, and I don't know where it came from, whether it was ESPN or CBS Sports Network or what, Sports Illustrated maybe. One of those guys interviewed him, and they had sources saying that Manfred potentially he doesn't like this system and might explore salary cap, and that would be the best thing for baseball if there was something like that they were going to, you know, drive a hard bargain and not give in to the players here when this CBA is up in a couple years. And I think that's what baseball needs to do. They need to head in the direction of the NHL and the NFL for sure. That's what baseball has to do, and that's what, I mean, would help the Pirates compete. All right, thanks a lot, Jerry. I really appreciate it. Like talking about the Buccos. Let's go out to Rick on Butler. What's up, Rick?
Oh, thanks for taking my call. Last night, you and Gene were talking about a way to stop this helmet-to-helmet hits. And I have a suggestion maybe to entertain see what you think.
Yeah, I'd love to hear it. Go ahead, Rick.
When a player causes injury like this, let's say a concussion, the player's generally out 2 to 3 games that has the concussion. The player that caused it, if he's ejected from the game, he misses 1 game, he may get fined, but he's back in a game later, and here's your star player. He's out for 3 or 4 games. So when this happens, I think the guy that causes it, when the league comes down and says, yes, that was a deliberate hit, you should be out as long as that player is, plus 1 game or 1 day. It would work in hockey. It would work in football.
Yeah, you know what, Rick? I think I remember talking about that specifically on the show here before, that would be fair. I don't know if that's something that's ever been brought up before, but it only makes sense that, if you knock, Mason Rudolph out for, 3 games with a bad hit, you should be out as long as he's out. I agree with you. And fined, or be out as long as he's out without a paycheck. And then that would hurt him. I think fining them and taking away money like Myles Garrett right now, that suspended, when you're not making any money and you're giving up those paychecks, that's what hurts them, the players, the most. So, something like that would work. Maybe make the game safer. I don't know if we'd see it. I don't know if the CBA would go for it. That would have to be something when the CBA is up, if you could somehow negotiate that. But as of right now, it's up to Roger Goodell and his crew to determine some type of punishment, and that's what they've done here in this situation, what happened in the last 8 seconds of that Steelers-Browns game. So just to go over that again, Pouncey was fined. His suspension was reduced to 2 games from 3 games, and Myles Garrett's suspension was upheld. Indefinite suspension. He'll have to meet with Roger Goodell sometime in the offseason to determine what's going to happen at the end of next year. So the NFL did say they looked into Garrett's allegations about Rudolph saying something, a racial slur, and they found no such evidence, and that's coming from the NFL. So Garrett's appeal was heard yesterday, and he lost, and his suspension was upheld indefinitely. We're going to take a break. Back with more of your phone calls. Some of your tweets coming up next. Stay right there.